So today we're going to do a very, very quick pitch deck overview of the components. Want to take a second and make sure the key terms for today that they are common knowledge for everybody. And those are the why, really what is the ethos? Why are you making your show? What is important about the show and how that actually drives the show forward? The want, what do your characters want? The learn, what is being taught or learned and by whom? Even in shows that don't have high curriculum in terms of like math and science and language acquisition, there tends to be a learn, whether it's social or emotional or just be kind, there tends to be a learn. So what is it and who's getting it? And then in terms of structure and key elements, there's a concept of repeatable moments. So what kinds of things happen at the same time in every episode or in several episodes at least, this kind of repetition and what that does in terms of the structure of either an episode or of your series as a whole. So from there, we're going to get quickly into show structure and key element. What is show structure? What are we talking about here? What are key elements? How do they work together? How do they differ? And then story sustainability. How do you create a world that has endless story capacity? Particularly in animation, in a world where your characters don't age, like how do you continue generating stories where the characters have arcs but they essentially in many ways reset every episode? And then what are the best practices for giving your show legs? So by legs, meaning it can just keep going forever. So as a reminder from our first session, the components that tend to go into pitch deck are your title page or your poster with the title of your show, some artwork, whether it's world or character or both, usually your tagline, usually your credits, who it's created by, if it was adapted for TV by someone else. And be clear what it is. Is this preschool? Is this prime time? Are these 7-minute episodes? Are these 11-minute episodes? And any partners? All of that is kind of in this one-page single look poster. And often I've pitched only off of the poster. All the pitch deck information has come later, but in terms of a visual for a conversation, that's your front page. The overview, which if you were doing a one sheet would just be the back side of your poster in many cases, has a little bit of your world, a little bit of your characters, a little bit of the tone and spirit, and learn if there is one of your show. Your character and your character, your world and your characters. We did that, went deep into those last session. Where does this show take place and who is doing the action? Today, we're going to get deep into structure and touch on key elements as well, talk about stories or episodes. And then just for a refresher, other things that are often in pitch decks, but not always, depends on the age and the audience and what broadcaster you're pitching to, or even what studio partner. Could have curriculum, could have transmedia and toys. Sometimes and I didn't have this in last time, sometimes there is a page on the team, who are the key players in this, and a little bit about them and their headshot, and then clearly contact information so people know how to get a hold of you when they're so excited about your show. So we're getting into building blocks, and I'm going to let Carolyn and Andrew take it from here, but just to give us a quick overview, what do we mean by show structure? Can it change? And what are key elements, and do we always need them?
Okay, so we're going to assume at this point that we know the type of show that we're making, that we've decided we know what the demo is. We've done all the work we did last week, which is we know what the world is, we know what the characters are, and now we have to see what happens every week. It's that simple. We just have to know what the structure is and how to build story. So that's basically what are we going to see every week? And that's the hardest question in building a show, because you can do all that kind of stuff and then still not know what your show is. So I think that's the main thing we have to think about when we're doing our show structure.
That's right. And you'll be getting these notes from those notes that you made at the very beginning when you had your your whiteboards up and you were saying, well,
Right.
What is this show? And what is this show? What is it? What is it not? What do you want to see in your show every week? And what kind of things are your characters going to be doing?
Yes, what drives it? What is moving the show forward every week? And what's going to make it identifiable to your show? So when you turn on the, there's so much on every channel. So you can, if you're switching around, you have to be able to make your show so identifiable within a few minutes, right? So that they know, oh, that's Paw Patrol. Oh, that's Ranger Rob right away. And then can it change? Well, that's, you know, it's hard to believe it's such a heavy debate topic.
That's why I put it in there.
Can it change? Well, our answer, I think Andrew and I say, yes, it can. We like to look at our structure as signposts. We get down the road, we have to, you know, hit certain beats, signposts along the way. And as long as we get there somehow, we're good. So sometimes we do change it up.
Yeah, and that's just
Other
the
people
evolution
stay
of a
really
show.
rigid and, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that's just the evolution of a show. And if
Right.
after you've done 25 episodes, 50 episodes, and you think, you know, I just really think that you know, that aspect should change, then you have to
Right.
listen to that, because you
Right.
know,
We don't need
nobody
it
knows the show better than the
Right.
people involved in making it. So except
Right.
the kids watching it, they actually know it better than you do.
And they'll hold you to it too. Absolutely. And then also within the actual every episode where we have certain beats, sometimes one will go, okay, we don't need this particular beat this time. I mean, we'll be loosey-goosey as much as we can without losing the framework that we've created for our show.
Yeah, and you'll see from our example that we're going to take you through today, there are things that changed in our structure. So
Yes.
And did they change within a season, or they change season to season?
Even within a season,
Yeah.
we'll, you know, we'll play around with certain moments that, you know, are usually one way, and we'll just go, let's just have a little fun with it this time. And then the kids kind of enjoy that too. The kid viewers are like, oh, they changed the bandolier moment. You can get letters, yay. So I think, and then season to season, absolutely, it changes because every season they like to have a little bit more of a take on it. And you know that from, you know, adult dramas where you can have different things, even different detectives come in for the second season. You know, I'm thinking of True Detective or something like that. But here, what we do is every season it expands, it evolves. We'll have more, sometimes more places to go, more characters to play with. They'll introduce a new character, and it just gives it a little bit more of a different vantage point. So yeah, lots of changes, but some
Yeah.
people don't like it, but
it's
you know, I think
possible, and don't
possible.
don't say, you don't want to start off thinking, oh, there's going to be lots of changes. You really do want to, when you're coming up with your structure, you want to really
Right.
lock in on what it needs to be for the show, for you to successfully pitch it and successfully produce it,
Right. Yeah.
week after week.
Yeah. Then you have that basis, you have that structure, and you're secure in your show. I think when you say lock it in, that's like a really good feeling to know, okay, we know what the show is. And then you can sort of, it's like playing with the nuance a little bit later, but just lock your show in so you know how to sell it. And then as Andrew said, then you know how to produce it, which is just like then it's a nice flow.
So Carolyn and Andrew, I know there are people who say, you know, you can pitch a show off of anything. You can pitch a show off of a book cover. You don't need all of this. Do you reckon, I know that you've both worked on other people's shows as well as your own original properties. Do you recommend that at the pitch Bible stage that the show structure, at least to the best understanding of the creator, is already locked in, or would you kind of leave that out? I know Carolyn, shows that we've worked on together always have the structure in them already, but have you had experiences where it's been successful with really just overview, world, characters, story, and the structure's kind of just been left out at the initial pitch
Well,
stages?
even on a very loose thing, you will have a sense of structure to it. You will know, because in your pitch document, it's going to have to show how this is a series. So the reader
Right.
or the receiver of that pitch is going to have to see how that has the potential to be a series. So that speaks to the fact that you will need some kind of structure. You don't need to show it in a big complicated chart for them necessarily in your pitch document, but you do, as the creator, you want to know what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're David E. Kelly, you can sell it with written on a coaster. But you know, those are the stories, the legendary stories in Hollywood. But I think that the more homework you do ahead of time, the less you'll be tripped up in a room with your broadcasters or producers that you're pitching to. I know that Andrew and I, we talked about it last week with Alex Barr, who had Alex Barr has done created many series, and Ranger Rob was one of his creations, and he came to us with just a few pages, right? And he didn't know what the structure was, but he had the vision, and it sort of speaks to that why we're going to talk about later, Anne-Marie, where it's your vision that gets you through. And you really want to have a passion and a vision for your story. And I think that's what Alex has in all his pieces. But he didn't have structure, and that was okay at that point.
Yeah. But what you're saying there, Carolyn, goes very naturally to the next slide, which is the 3 important questions.
Right.
The 3 important pitch questions.
Before we move on, can we just talk 1 second about what key elements are and how they play into
right.
Oh,
structure?
yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to make sure everybody has the
Yep.
same framework going in, because I know your structure
Right.
talk is really spot on.
Okay. Okay, sure. Oh,
I
the
heard it
pressure.
already.
Oh, no. The expectation now.
Yeah, I heard it yesterday.
So the key elements that we talked about, I'll use your show, Anne-Marie, Mika and Mo, that I had so much fun working on with you. It's set in felt. Everything is felt. And Mika and Mo live in a world of felt. So when they want to build something, they take a piece of the wall, they take a piece of the couch. I just love that. It's so much fun. And it so feeds into arts and crafts for kids that just love that. The key element in Mika and Mo is the fact that she'll flip that over and she'll run out of felt for something, and she'll go somewhere to find it. And it's just these little bits that you watch for in every episode. In South Park, it's every week. That one kid, I can't remember his name, always gets killed in a comical way. It's like, bang, he gets blown up, he gets shot through a cannon, whatever. So it's these key elements that aren't the building blocks. They're not the signposts. It's just these fun things that we look forward to. We're going to look forward to seeing Mika take a piece of the couch and build something. It's just really intrinsic to that show. And no one else does it. And this is what I'm getting passionate, you see, about our show. But no one else does it. Right. So that's one of those things we were talking about again before, which is what makes your show distinct and unique, and what are your key elements.
Cool.
And do you need them? Yes, I would say gold stars if you have them, for sure. Now, these are the pitch questions you were talking about. We wanted to get to, right, Andrew, because
Yep.
A long time ago, a producer told me, if you can answer these 3 questions, you've got a show and you'll be able to sell it. If you cannot answer all 3 of them, good luck, kind of is what she said. So I've always written that down at the beginning of all my pitches, just for myself. They don't have to be answered in any order or any sort of, very rigid way. But if you know these, you're going to do well. So the number 1 question, what is the show about? Number 2, what makes it unique? And number 3, what happens every episode, which we are talking about today. The biggest challenge really is to find out what happens every episode, so that you can go for 2 seasons, 4 seasons, 7 seasons, be Paw Patrol, basically. It's what we want.
Yeah.
Okay, so we thought maybe to highlight what these questions mean and how we go about them is we take a show we all know that's been on for many, many years and is not even on anymore, but it's on in repeats. And it's called Friends. Hopefully we know this show. And so you just succinct way, answer the first question. It would be really fun if we were in like a class and people can put their hands up. But in any case.
I'll be the class. I'll be the class. For you asking the question.
Okay, Andrew, can you answer this question? Number 1.
What is the show about? It's about 6 friends in their
Right.
20s making their way in New York City.
Perfect.
That's
And
simple.
You actually almost passed. No, you did pass. What was great about that is it's succinct, concise, and you know what the show is about, right? 6 friends in New York City making their way. And they tell it in the song, at the beginning of the song, I'll be there for you and all that kind of thing, where they're scrambling around. So that's good. So the second question, oh no, now you can be on the spot because
I'm on the spot.
I have to ask you again. What makes it unique?
Well, at the time Friends was pitched, that had never been done. You'd never seen a show on TV with
Right.
3 male leads, 3 female leads, all interacting with the same amount of weight and living together, kind of cohabitating. So that was new. It was there.
Believe it or
hadn't
not, it
existed
was.
before. Yeah, the Odd Couple maybe had been there before, you know, of roommates. Three's Company had its own thing with roommates.
Okay, we're really dating ourselves, but yes.
Yeah.
there was lots of copycats after that, like all kinds of Friends shows. But what makes it unique is just that exact thing. And then, of course, how did they afford their apartment in New York? But in any case, that's just a sidebar. But that kind of relationship stuff in their 20s, very unique and not been done before. And what happens every episode? Well,
in every episode?
Again?
Yeah, I'll just dive in there.
This is what I do to Andrew, by the way. If we're at Kids Screen or something, I'll tell some producer that we see, I'll say, we have this great show. It's this and that. And
I'll let Andrew tell you all about it.
Yeah, and then they'll go, yes, and can you tell us about it? And I'll go, great. Andrew? And so he just
Carolyn always gets sort of the glamorous intro, and then the dog's body comes on in, and he like does the heavy lifting.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No.
So what happens every episode?
So in every episode, they had a very strict formula on Friends that worked, and it was so successful. You followed an A story with one or two of the friends, you followed a B story with one or two of the friends, and you followed a comedic C plot with usually Joey and Phoebe.
Right, because they're the principal characters.
And so that's what happened in every episode. So you would just be putting the weight like that. You'd be balancing the weight among the friends, and everybody would be interacting and would have a feature.
That's right. Well done. Gold stars for Andrew. Yeah, so that's exactly it. And there's when he's talking about the C story, it's also known as the runner or the running gag. It's short for running gag. And that'll just be like Joey trying to get a sandwich the entire episode. It's really not even big scenes. And what happens every episode is they follow their relationships in different ways and forms and friendships. So it's pretty easy to see now, after all these episodes and seasons, how to define that show. Is really hard to do it when we're just starting, because you have to do all that work that those producers did and writers and creators to get Friends going. Because I did hear that it was originally called Monica's Friends, and it was so number 3 would have been what happens to Monica every week to do with her friends. So you know, those little tiny little nuances change through development, and it became Friends because all of the writing for the other characters and the acting became so strong, they decided to make it ensemble. So that's just a little anecdote, but it shows how much things change through development and how important these questions are. So now what we're going to do is we're going to tell you a little bit more about Ranger Raw, because that's kind of our baby that we've worked on together. And then we're going to see at the end if we can come back to those questions and answer them.
So and Carolyn, what we talked about briefly yesterday is that, and that we talked about the first week, is the power of the elevator pitch, right? The power of knowing quickly how to sum up your show. And these questions are essentially what you're hitting in your pitch.
Exactly.
So the faster you can get these out without being a 30-minute tying somebody to a chair, right? The clearer they are for you, the easier your elevator pitch is going to be. And for those chance encounters to get somebody else excited about your show that you may not have had a formal meeting with.
That's right. And if you don't have an Andrew with you, you kind of have to just go with it on your own. So for example, with the first one, here's what sometimes I would do. Okay. And this is the wrong way. So what is the show about? Okay, so it's about friends.
It's about Andrew.
Yeah, no, Andrew left. He's in the bar, so I have to do it by myself. So I go, what is the show about? Okay, so it's about friends, and they're friends, and there's 6 of them, and they live in New York City. One is a caterer. One is, I can't remember. Okay, so the other one is really goofy, and she sings funny songs, and the other one is really in love with that one, and then they take a break. But that's in the but we'll do that later in the 3rd season, but I'm not sure. Anyway,
here's the broadcaster listening to that pitch of Carolyn's.
I know, exactly. Or he's like backing out of the room or at the bar very slowly, or looking for a drink very quickly. So
and why though? Because you've given too much detail, right?
Too much detail.
Yeah.
Detail is great. I know they say it's God is in the detail, but that's in the writing, not in when you're talking to somebody. It's like when you're at a party, you just bang, just get it out and see what the reaction is. The other thing on that note that I've had to learn through the years is just let the idea sit in the air. Just let it be quiet. Sometimes I try to fill in the space, and it's okay to just say it and let it sit there, because
Yeah, the person
another
might be
thing,
thinking. They might be
they
thinking,
might be
you know,
thinking.
listening to what you've said and pondering it. So you don't want to be steamrolling over their thoughts.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. And they've lost their thought and they just want to get away from me. So that's just some advice. Just to carry with you as you go to these kids screens and conferences and stuff, sort of tried and true what we've learned along the way. Okay, so next we're gonna go through a structure of Ranger Rob, right, Andrew? We're gonna
Yeah,
pretend.
well, even before, so this is how the very
Yeah.
beginning of structure was agreeing what the series would look like roughly, you know, and having that sense. So here's what we settled on before we settled on the structure. This was kind of the germ for finding our structure. In
Right.
every episode, Rob has an event, discovery, or situation that he wants to help with as a ranger, and that's going to be his mission, because he knows it's going to be fun, especially with his best bud Stomper and maybe one or two other friends along for the ride. The adventure always has him out in the park. An exciting rescue has a way of finding its way into every story. And at the end, Rob's actions always wind up making Big Sky Park a great place to be that day. So no story settled there, no, but you start to see the germ of a structure forming. We're answering what happens in every episode, who's involved primarily, and what the action's going to be, and what the emotion's going to be. Fun.
Right. So it's a
And
more general version. And this is what we came to after all those days in the board with Alex and the producers and everything. This is what we wanted our show to be. But then we had to go back into the nitty gritty and find out what the beats would be.
And so that is the next slide,
Right.
where we
Okay.
start to lock in
Sorry,
on the
Andrew, let me
series.
just jump in
Yeah.
for 1 second.
Yeah.
So in here, you're very clear that this is an event, a discovery, or situation. So this plays to a certain kind of show, right? Where it's a situationally driven show. Do you want to talk for just 1 second for like other kinds of show setups, just so people have that at the back of their heads, like want driven or character, like just anything else, any other options that might be?
Sure. I mean, this is quite concept driven, because we have nature learns and 4 ecosystems. For anyone that missed last week, Big Sky Park that Andrew read about has all the different types of zones: an Arctic, a desert, a jungle, and a forest. And so a lot of our stories are concept driven or situationally driven, because we are about nature learns and learning things about the park and adventure. Whereas other things like Friends is character driven. It's really about Joey having a bad day, or somebody wanting to have, get to know somebody else. Whatever it is, that's character driven.
And a preschool example of a character-driven show would be something like Max and Ruby,
Perfect.
where
Yeah.
they each have a want. And the want in Max and Ruby, the formula is that the wants are opposite; they're opposed. So Max wants to beat his drum loudly, and Ruby wants to have a quiet spa day. And then the genius of Max and Ruby is, how does Max's loud drum wind up saving Ruby's spa day? And that's it. It sounds very simple. That's the beauty of that concept. That's why it's had 9 seasons or however many Max and Ruby has had. But it's all about the simplicity of that concept.
And their relationship
Mhm.
and their friend, their brother and sister, right? And their sort
That's
of.
right. That's right. So that's a
Right.
character-driven show. But back to
Perfect.
Ranger Rob,
Thank you.
we're all about the situation and the action in Ranger Rob.
The action. That's
And
right.
the friendship. It's a friendship show too with the buddies. But so we had to we had to come up with an episodic structure. And we did this before we started really breaking stories. So in those whiteboard sessions, we came up with possible stories that we could do, like Rob has to deliver some elephants, or Rob has to look after some lizards that are in a case or something like that. But we didn't quite know what would happen in those stories yet. These were just sort of germs of ideas that would get us
Right.
in. But before we broke those stories, we had to work through and lock in on an episodic structure. And this slide is what we came up with.
Right. And so starting off, it's how do you get into the story? What starts it off? And we found that certainly preschoolers love their mom and dad. And it's nice to have that little connection between Rob and his mom and dad. So we most often start the opening with establishing his mission with mom and dad. I've got this crate of lizards and I just need you to watch them. And little do they know that they're leaping lizards, and you know there's going to be havoc to be had.
And Rob just loves that idea, and he says,
Right.
great, I'll do it. What am I waiting for? And
Exactly.
that's how that leap into the thing is kind of that, what am I waiting for, is a real like call to action line for Rob. And it's a repeatable line.
That's right. So whatever his mission is, whether it's to move elephants from the one end of the park to the other, to patrol something, to pick up some fossils, he'll always say, what am I waiting for? Which cues the gear up moment, which is next. And this is a very popular moment with preschoolers. They just love their gear up moment with the clicks and the bangs and the gear and going down slides. You know it in Paw Patrol where he calls the pups and they go down the slides and all that. So that's the gear up moment. And in Ranger Rob.
And we have a video that we're going to show you for the gear up moment here. In Ranger Rob, there's one thing that changes in the gear up moment, and you'll see it right at the end of the video, and it's where Rob says he's going to go. So there's everything you'll see in the gear up moment is repeatable action, repeatable dialogue, except the last line. And so Stomper says, hey, where are we going today? You'll see it on the video. And Rob says, to the forest, or to the jungle, or to the, to the frosty fields. So, and then the kids know, the beauty of that, it's so simple, but the beauty is the kids know, oh, I'm going to the desert. Oh, we're going to the frosty fields. And that has been set up in that opening that Carolyn described, that opening short beat with Rob's mission. We know he's going to be going there. Now he's telling Stomper where he's going to be going, and then you're into the episode.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at the video.
Yay.
I promise nothing, but let's give me 1 second.
What am I waiting for? Helmet mode! I'm Ranger, ready to get outside! Woo-hoo! Yeah! Come on, Stomper! Chipper! Come in, Chipper!
Hello, Ranger Rob.
Stomper!
Hey, where are we going today?
To the forest!
Yay. Oh, I think you're muted.
There we are. To the forest we're going. And in that opening, you see all the key elements of the show. You see Rob's vehicle Chipper, you see Stomper, you hear Stomper's name, and you hear where we're going in the episode.
Yeah, that sort of, and kids just love it. There's so much action. It gets them really geared up. And it never changes other than what Andrew says, that one little word. And the voice actor just had to put it in a library, forest, frosty fields, to the jungle, blah, and they would just cut it in, right?
That's right. Anne Marie, you're muted in case you need to speak. Okay. Then we go. Then next in our episodic structure, we get into obstacles and conflict. Carolyn, how about telling us about obstacles and conflict?
Oh my God, now you're putting me on the spot. Excellent. Okay, so Andrew, the obstacles and conflict are very important because if he solved his mission, which was just to, I'm just going to go and get the elephants from one side of the park to the other. If he solves it, then we'd have a 30-second show and we wouldn't have any comedy, and we'd be done and we wouldn't make any money and it would be over. So we need obstacles because it first of all raises the stakes. It makes it more enjoyable and exciting for the kids. And of course, the conflict is what gives us comedy, and it gives us the meat of the story. So we'll tell you more about that when we go through examples of this, because we're going to take you through a little case study of one episode. But just remember, obviously, we think it's obvious, but sometimes you forget, you have to pile on the conflicts so that Rob's really in a bind, has to use all his ingenuity. And then, of course, we have some other things he has to use. How's that for a segue, Andrew? A bandolier moment.
That is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. And the bandolier moment is, we have a video to show you of that too. And that's a moment when the obstacles and conflicts are building and Rob's path is getting quite convoluted, but he's still kind of in charge because he's a very capable ranger, and he's got his bandolier belt that we saw him gear up with. And in every episode, he'll use at least one of the gadgets that are in the bandolier. And that's modeling Rob being a creative thinker and a problem solver and being very capable. So that is and he's able to solve a little aspect of the problem, can keep things on the rails until the obstacles and conflict become even greater. But let's have a look at our bandolier moment.
Great. I feel like I'm on a talk show now.
At least you're not the one navigating all the videos playing.
And there, I was going to add, but now I don't have to because you're so fast.
He had no faith. Let's make sure I have the right one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Ranger Rob. Everyone knows a good ranger needs his tools. I keep all my tools in my bandolier. A good ranger is always prepared. Thirsty? I have just the thing. Ranger kit, water bottle.
Water. Thanks, buddy.
It's important to stay hydrated when you're out in the hot sun. Ranger kit, binoculars. Hold on! Ranger kit, grabber. Stomper's heading right for those campers. I have just the thing. Ranger kit, Ranger vine. Now that's what I call saving the day the ranger way.
It sure is. So that's one of our repeatable lines: saving the day the ranger way. So,
and actually, we should say about that that was a video that's been put together it's introed by Rob. That is not part of the show. That he's kind of introing that. What happens in the show is that moment, those repeatable moments you kept on seeing, where he said, "I have just the thing," and he reaches into his bandolier and gets it. So that part where he was talking in front of a screen is just for that video, not in the show.
For YouTube, I think.
Yeah,
promo.
that's right.
Right. So that's what happens along the way. So that's one of our signposts that we found along the way. We wanted to find something different and unique for him. And it's so cool that he could just pull anything out. And it's also when Andrew talks about his ingenuity, it's not just that he relies on these props and gadgets. We liked to play with the fact that he's making them up and using them in different ways. And it needs ingenuity. It's not just that he's got a bunch of stuff. So of course, that's great for kids, great modeling, and they love to play with gadgets and when they're play acting with their toys and stuff. So it's kind of fun. Okay, so then the next thing we have, Andrew, is the nature learn.
And the nature learn is just something that features in every episode. It might be key to an episode, it might be key to a plot, or it might just be a sidebar learn. So illustrations would be, and this is learning about something about an animal or an environment is our nature learn, because we're an outdoor nature show. So we always want to have that little interesting nature fact in it. So an example of a plot-driven nature learn would be, say Rob's looking for chameleons and he can't find them anywhere. He finds out at the end of the episode they've been in front of him the whole time, everywhere he's looked. It's just that chameleons can change color. That would his nature learn in that case would be chameleons can change color. Or It might be something like he might be involved in a whole other totally different adventure. And a part of that episode involves a sandstorm blowing up in the desert. And it comes out of nowhere and they can't see. And the nature learn in that case would be about sandstorms in deserts.
Right. And it's a very natural progression from the story. It's not a show where he looks at camera and says it, or it's not a very curriculum show like Monster Math. Was it Monster Math we talked about last week?
Yeah.
Where it's absolute. This is just a beat that he comes across. He'll say, "Wow, that is so cool that hippos can swim. I didn't know that," and then we move on. So it's just, I guess you would also call it a key element for sure, Anne-Marie. It's one of those things that not everyone has. But because Ranger Rob has a pro-social learn as well. So this is just like a little bonus learn. Because we're in a park, because we're seeing animals and all this wonderful nature, it's great to showcase it in a positive way.
And it's been great for us. We have learned so much about nature. We love it.
Absolutely. Then it gets so that we're going, oh my God, how can we find another learn in the desert? We're constantly on Google looking up things. Anyway, okay. And then another signpost that we have is the Big Sky Park cheer. And
you're going to do it for us? We're going to hear
we
it?
are going to do it for you. Okay. I'll be up. And Andrew, you can be Sam.
Sure.
You can be Sam as well. You can be another park visitor. Okay. It's very easy. You both. I want to hear both of you. Okay.
And if not,
so you're going to be Rob, right? You're Rob.
I'm Rob.
Okay.
Okay. So what this is we liked to set up Rob as very well known, aspirational for the kids. So everyone in the park knew who Rob was. And so it was just given that everyone knew the cheer. So they would say to him, Rob, do the cheer. Like he'd be like on scaling a mountainside or something. And he'd just turn down and he'd go, when I say big park, you say, did I screw it up?
Yeah, when I say Big Sky.
Oh, wait, when I say Big Sky, oh my God, I totally lost the job. Okay, when I say Big Sky, you say park. Big Sky.
Park.
Big Sky.
Park.
Park. Yeah, so that's what basically happens. You see that I'm so glad I didn't get hired to do any acting on the show. But it's interestingly enough, we're talking about it changing. Little kids love this, of course, because they could do it at home. There's lots of videos of them going, park. But it sort of made its way out. It just sort of evolved out of it because oftentimes we'd be in the middle of an adventure and we'd have to do the Big Sky Park cheer, and it would sort of slow it down and make the script longer. There's nothing wrong with it. It just kind of grew out of the show.
That's
just
right.
Like you grow out of a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
But at what point did it grow out? Did it last all of season 1? Did it become sporadic season 2, or did you just kind of go cold turkey on it?
Exactly like you said. Yeah,
It's
no, exactly like you
that.
said. Yeah.
We do
And
it
even
once in a while.
season 3, we had it a couple of times in season 3, but it became far less featured.
Right.
But it was also important early on in the show, like Carolyn's saying, to establish Rob as a bit of a celebrity, and also to establish the brand. The name of this park is Big Sky Park. So you heard
I
it.
screwed up. So that's.
But you heard it, and it reinforced it for the kids watching that Rob's home is in Big Sky Park. So it did serve a lot of purpose, and
Yes.
it was a key element, literally, in launching the show and establishing the brand.
Yeah.
And
it
did it move around where it
Oh,
appeared in the
totally. Oh, yeah.
episode? So, and same with the nature learn, did that also move around as opposed to the get outside moment and the bandolier moments,
That's
which
right.
I seem are more fixed because they.
That's right.
Yeah. And
That's
if we
right.
could get it in early, we were so happy because then we wouldn't have to, interrupt the flow of a big dramatic moment later during, the rescue. So if we could get it in early and somebody sees them on the gondola or something and do it as they're going in pace with that kind of structure, it'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Okay, so then we move on to a very reliable part of our show, which can't be changed, which is the rescue. And we call it action mode because it might be building, it might not be a rescue necessarily, but we've got a video, so let's see it.
And before you play the video, this is when the problem has become so great now that Rob's dealing with the challenge that he can no longer deal with it just on his own. And now he needs Chipper to come in. And Chipper is his artificially intelligent vehicle that comes in with all kinds of gadgets and helps him solve the problem.
Okay, well, you had too much faith in me anyway. Here we go.
You got it. And Chipper can do all kinds of things. And Chipper can fly, swim,
Be a submarine.
So he's also very aspirational for kids. They want to have their own Chipper, and he's got a little personality too.
And this action mode, it comes at the climax of every episode. So and the kids know this is a very reliable moment that they're going to see where the action is so heightened.
Can you give me a thumbs up that you can see this?
Can't see it yet.
And I can't wait to get your picture.
Yeah, okay, so let me try again. Hold on a second.
And he says, Chipper, action mode, just to get into it every time. That doesn't change.
We're good.
I can't wait to get your picture. Wooly, no! Uh-oh, he's heading for that cliff. Chipper, action mode.
Ready for action, Ranger Rob?
After that log! Whoa! Phew!
And that's where he saves the day.
So he saved the day the Ranger way, which is another one of his repeatable lines. And he would have said that right after that moment.
Right. I love the way they held on Rob like Tom Cruise, and it just sort of went slow motion for a bit. And then so that's what they're doing. Tons of the animators and the director always had so much fun, I think, with the action mode it was hard to keep it different and vibrant, because how many times can you fling someone out on the other side of the park and roll them, log rolling, all that kind of stuff. But they really did a great job.
And all that action has to be written in the scripts. It all has to be, you actually, as the writer, you have to write literally every beat of that action. So him going down the glacier slide and deploying his skis and everything, that all is in the script as described action.
Right.
And then we get to the wrap up.
Right. Sorry? And then we go, okay, so we go to the wrap up, which is just tying everything up. We've got usually a pro-social learn that he learns, whatever he needed to accomplish, he's accomplished. And sometimes mom and dad come in and say, good job, Rob. And we go out hopefully on a fun gag or joke. So that's our show.
That's the structure.
Pretty much in a nutshell. So what we'd like to do now is we'd like to take one episode of our show called A Hairy Day in Big Sky Park, and we'll tell you what the synopsis is, and then we're going to really quickly plug in those elements that we have in our structure beats. Okay, so this is called A Hairy Day in Big Sky Park, and the synopsis is: Rob finds out that Stomper is going to earn an award for Park Pal of the Month. The awards ceremony is later today. Rob goes to tell Stomper the good news. Stomper is so excited that he jumps for joy, leading to a series of mishaps that leave him messy and full of burrs. Stomper is now in a panic to get cleaned up for the awards, and Rob does his ranger best to help him. Things get worse when Wooly tries a Yeti burr removal remedy that has the two Yetis get stuck together. Now it's double the Yeti trouble. So that's the synopsis. Wooly is his cousin, who's another Yeti. And often we go to a sort of Yeti remedy a time-honored, age-old Yeti remedy that, of course, Andrew and I make up. That's,
And
just
always
fun.
reliably backfires.
Right, it backfires. So if we go back to those beats, I believe is what we're doing next.
If you're not
So-
going to make me play the videos again, that
Nope.
was
No, we won't do
Don't have
that.
to
And we will just very quickly take you through how that story, how that synopsis got realized through the episodic structure. So
Right.
in the opening, Rob's mission is very simple. He learns that his best buddy Stomper is going to be given the Park Pal of the Month award. And he asks his mom and dad, can I be the one to tell him? And they say, sure. And Rob says, great. What am I waiting
What am I
for?
waiting for? Then we have the gear up moment, which you've all seen. It doesn't change. Then we have obstacles. So of course, when Stomper's told about this exciting news, he jumps up in a tree, he lands in a berry bush, and he gets burrs on him. So, and he's mortified because he doesn't want to go to the ceremony looking a mess and in front of his friends and stuff. So his first conflict is, Rob's first conflict is to help Stomper get cleaned up. So he takes him to a hot tub with the snow monkeys. He takes with a scrub brush. He uses Chipper's hose. But then the next conflict comes when
And actually and right in that moment that Carolyn described, Rob uses his bandolier. He has his bandolier moment because he realizes that Stomper's sitting and soaking in the what looks like a hot tub in the hot spring with the snow monkeys. He realizes that the berry stains aren't coming off his fur. So he says, I have just the thing. And he gets his scrub brush, Ranger scrub brush, and he scrubs Stomper and the berry juice comes off. So now
that's good.
That's good.
Yep.
And
But
the nature learn.
Oh, I was just before the nature learn. Oh, right. Yes, there is a nature learn right there. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and the nature learn is he looks across and he sees the snow monkeys grooming each other, and he realizes that snow monkeys groom each other to keep each other clean, which is kind of a funny in the episode. It's a funny mirror because Rob is sort of grooming Stomper, keeping him clean.
Like kind of going, right. Okay, and then I was going to go back, going back to the conflict when we talked about really upping the stakes and building more and more conflict. He can't get something off. It's the burrs actually. And he takes Stomper to Wooly, and they use that age-old remedy we talked about in the synopsis. But what happens is worse, is that they get stuck together. So now we have another level of comedy because two Yetis stuck together. Like, how funny is that? I mean, it's funny. And then we take the bandolier moment, and this is talking about changing things. We went back to the bandolier moment and we did something really edgy, which is use all his bandolier gadgets, because Andrew and I felt like having some fun. So instead of just doing one, he does a bunch. He uses ski poles to try to pry them apart, and they just break.
Tries a crowbar.
Bends.
He tries a suction cup darts and
which is
two
always
other Yetis.
like, and then they, you can't pull their butts off. And anything to do with suction darts are really funny for kids.
Always good. Yep. And two other Yetis get involved in trying to assist that and trying to help separate them. It doesn't work. So the two Yetis, they come up with an idea that, he just needs some oil. Slippery oil will make them come apart. They soak them in oil, and the oil makes them so slippery they slide into a revolving door and they get jettisoned clear across the park. Now the stakes are really high because these two stuck together Yetis are heading for trouble. Rob calls Chipper, action mode, and now Chipper's involved in the pursuit to save the two Yetis.
That's right, and you can hear the music in the background. And then they end up on a geyser, and they get the geyser, of course, flings them and breaks them apart, which is just kind of fun. And then they land at the award ceremony clean.
There's one little beat first. They're falling through the air, so they go like, "Oh, good news! We're free." And then Wooly looks down and says, "Bad news! The ground's coming up fast," or something like that, because now they're falling to the ground. And Rob has a final heroic action thing where he gets Chipper to deploy a rescue cushion, which lands on the ground, and the two Yetis bounce off the rescue cushion.
That's it.
And they land at the ceremony.
That's right. That's great. Right. So that, and then we have a wrap up at a ceremony where he gets his award. But when Rob is introducing Stomper, we told you that he has a real love of grilled cheese. So he's scarfing down some grilled cheese. He turns around and he's covered in cheese. He's like, oh no, I don't want to go up. I'm a mess. He goes up anyway, and he learns, here's our pro-social learn, that everybody's cheering from, they don't care what he looks like. The learn is you're okay the way you are. Everybody loves you for who you are, not how you look. And so he accepts his award covered in grilled cheese, and it's lots of fun, and we go out. So that was us.
The grilled cheese clearly being the best part.
So that's us plugging in our structure and our beats with one episode. And you can see that we didn't use the big sky park cheer. But we played around with the bandolier moment a little bit. We used all kinds of things. And so, but the beats itself really help us get from A to B.
Yeah, and knowing we had those beats was how we developed the story. So we knew that
right.
we knew that Rob had to have a mission. We knew that the mission couldn't be a straight A to B line, that complications would have to arise. And then it's really a matter of coming up with how many entertaining complications can you have to slowly ramp up, well, not slowly, quickly, ramp up the action so that Rob is then in the position he needs Chipper. He needs Chipper to come in for Chipper action mode.
That's right.
Yeah.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at those 3 questions that we're assigning everyone to have to come up with. So what is the show about? Well, I think it's a young ranger in an awesome park with a Yeti best friend, right? I think that pretty much.
No more complicated than that. That is exactly what it is. Yeah.
That's where I will just stop talking at the end of that. And then what makes it unique? You can have more than one thing for sure. First of all, I think he's got a Yeti friend, very unique. He lives in a park and runs it with his parents that have 4 ecosystems in the park. And he gets to go around and go on all kinds of adventures and learn about nature.
And you can have, and for the unique list, you can have a big long list. That does not need to be short, because that gets into like more conversation. So in Carolyn's friends example, if the broadcaster wanted to know, well, tell me about the friends, then you need to know all that stuff, that one works at the cafe and one is an aspiring actor. You then need to know that stuff. So you've got to have it figured out, but you want to hold it back until you are sort of asked more about the property.
Right. Because it is good to have many, many unique things about the show.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't want to have many, many things about what the show is about, if you know the difference, what I'm saying, because things that are unique make it sell. But if you go on about all the different things the show is about, you're going to lose them, just as I said before, and very embarrassingly illustrated.
And
so,
then to the same point, you want to be able to answer number 3 quite quickly. What happens in every episode? And that's a very simple explanation. Rob and his best buddy go on missions, and they get into humorous and exciting adventures involving the animals and the environments of this really cool nature park.
Right. And then you walk away knowing, okay, I know exactly what the show is. So that's what we recommend when you're creating your shows and you're getting them ready to pitch. Go through these questions and have them sort of tattooed in your brain, ready to sort of attack them at any point, right? Sometimes we put them right in the document just like this, and sometimes we kind of do it in different ways. But as long as you know the content of that, I think you'll be well on your way. So then there's just a few other things we can talk about. I wonder, because of time, if we should just skip to humor and heart. If we should.
Yeah. Or we could quickly go through this. Every story needs a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's what we call the statement of the obvious. But to blast through this slide here.
Keep it simple. Also, in preschoolers, they don't, if you put time in it, so even a week ago, with information, they can't retain it. So keep it present, and one day only is the best actually for a preschool show. And as you saw, you make sure your mission statement is out there, what he's going to do. I'm going to do this, what every character is going to do at the beginning. And then the middle, adventure.
And that's where the adventure happens, and problems occur and the obstacle and challenges mount up, and you've got to have a lot of humor and heart in those. Keep it because that's what's going to make it entertaining, and then keep the pace moving. So don't let your middle bog down.
Right. That's where all your action is, all your fun and your comedy, the meat of your story. And then the end, you have to make sure your mission is accomplished. Anything that you, any loose ends, like a B story, like Joey wanting a sandwich for friends, or in Sam dressing up as something, he'll come in at the end and end that beat. And then a button, you go out on a joke. So that's the grilled cheese with our little character that was so worried about being messy the entire time, ends up being clean. Everything's fine, but then he has a grilled cheese and he messes himself up again, and then learns it's okay. So it's so much better to go out on a punch like that. And that's our start. That's our beginning, middle, and end. We wanted to just kind of go through quickly. And then we did want to talk to you.
Caroline, just 1 second. So quick on for present time. So some of the people in the audience are doing, say, 6 to 11 or adult animation, like primetime animation. Do you still feel like that present time or as close to present time?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely free there. This is a cognitive thing for your audience in preschool TV, where children, particularly preschoolers, are very much, they live in the moment. Everything is happening in the now. So you're best to keep your show very much in the now, unity of time and space for an adventure. But no, in adult stuff, the sky's the limit, and you can absolutely, you can be serialized. You can have you can take whatever format you want for adult material.
And same for 6 to 11.
Or 6 to 11. Yeah.
You know those jokes where they'll go cut to, and it goes back to something funny and comes back. You can do that with 6 to 11. You can't do that in preschool. It was a really hard thing when I first got into preschool. Going, really, I can't do those jokes that flip to somewhere else that's funny and then back. So
or like recall a dream that the character had, like a really funny situation. That is great for 6 to 11. They love it. They totally get the zaniness of dreams, but no, it doesn't work for preschool.
Right.
Thank you for the distinction.
No problem. So last little bits is humor and heart. Every show has humor and heart. So how we can get away with the peril that we put our kids in, and so that the kid viewers aren't terrified, is the humor. And we make sure that whoever is in trouble, and let's say Stomper, he's very often in trouble, he's laughing, he's putting his hands up as if he's in a roller coaster, or he's giggling, he's making jokes. So that Rob may be really worried, because Rob sees what's ahead and he could smash into the side of the mountain, but and the kids can see it, but because Stomper's not worried, it's okay. It makes the kids know that they're okay. And I mean, in adult, you look at action movies and adventure movies like Die Hard. If he's hanging off the end of a plane and going, "Oh my God, I'm gonna die," it's actually going to be too much for us to watch. So that's why Bruce Willis is constantly cracking jokes throughout, and then we can have like this very full, fulfilling, engaging experience without being terrified, even though we are a little terrified, because that's what the show is. But and that's what we kind of do all the time with our preschoolers. The more gags and humor and heart we can find, and the heart part is the friendships and the stories that the pro-social learns that we do, the more the kids are going to get out of it, the charm, right?
Yep. And the why, the why is really, why are you making this show? That's a key thing. And for Ranger Rob, the answer is, we wanted to really feature the message of get outside and play. And Rob has a recurring line in the show, "Let's get outside." And it really is to encourage kids to take play outdoors, to be in the outdoors. That's the why that drove Ranger Rob, and learning about nature and everything. And there's actually a mental health side to that too, which is time spent in nature has been shown to be very beneficial to children, and to adults, to all of us. And that's kind of the soft mental health curriculum in Ranger Rob. It's in there. It's all about being out in nature and how good it makes you feel.
And I think that we talked about this before. You are going to be living and breathing this show, hopefully for many years, and you want to like it. You want to be passionate about it, and you don't want to do something because you think it's going to sell, because that never seems to work.
No.
What works is if something's passionate and means something to you, and you bring it forward, and you keep going with that. I think that's what's most important. I think that it shows too. I really think it shows in the work. If you love it, I think it shows, as opposed to doing it because you should or something. So Andrew and I have always liked that message. And that's why we're always in Google looking up more things to learn in nature. But it keeps you close to that.
Yeah, the why is very much why you are going to get up in the morning every day for years on end to deal with this, but also why your audience should care. Why should they tune in? Like, it's really, it's underneath the want, underneath the learn, underneath everything. It's really like the torch that has people attached to the show.
That's right. And it's a really good connection between your why and their why of watching. That's really nice what you said, because I think they do connect into that. Okay, and the want is the character. The character has to have a want. I know it's obvious, but they have to, every character in every show has to want something.
So in the example that we had, Rob really wants to get Stomper to the ceremony, and he wants Stomper to be comfortable because Stomper is covered in burrs and he's covered in berry juice and mud, and he wants to clean him up. And Stomper's want is to be cleaned up. So they're totally aligned in that example. And then in a more global picture on Ranger Rob, Rob's want is to be the best ranger he can be.
Right. Great. And then the learn we talked about in Ranger Rob, there's a nature learn, but usually in preschool and well, pretty much any good story, there is a learn. What does the character learn? And it's usually the person telling the story, if it's a book. But in Rob, it can vary, and in preschool, it can vary. For the first season, it was primarily Rob. And then we went, you'll see, because Stomper learns this as well. As Andrew said, they both had to learn. But by the third season, we were giving learns out, it could be a best friend. It could be Sam, the little boy, that's their little friend. It doesn't necessarily have to be the main character.
And peril and safety. This is about there in two very important things you've got to have in preschool TV. The humor plays into, as Carolyn was saying earlier, when some characters in a perilous situation, you want to soften that with some humor and keep it fun. But in terms of real safety, you want to have an adult stand-in character, and in Ranger Rob, that is Chipper, the artificially intelligent vehicle. So Chipper is the equivalent of the adult who Rob turns to for help when he needs help. And Chipper, the audience knows when they're watching Chipper that Rob will always be safe because he's got Chipper. Chipper's got his back. Chipper will intervene whenever there's a really big problem.
That's right. So the parents also co-viewing can know that they're safe. And on that note, the imitable behavior is we can have kids being crazy on a, in a gondola with Rob, because they're not going to be that in real life. So the example we use is climbing up bookshelves. We never have anything that a child watching could actually imitate. So the more zany and outrageous we go, the easier it is, because they're never going to be, and especially if it's Stomper, if it's a Yeti doing something crazy, even better, because it's not a little child.
Yeah, but if your character is a child, don't have them do anything that could bring them any peril in the real world.
Climbing in somewhere or anything like that. So walking home by themselves, anything like that.
Now, interestingly though, in a show where the leads, like in Agent Binky, where the leads are
animals,
they're animals. You're clear in that because you're not modeling behavior of a child doing something, so you have a little more leeway there.
We do, because one of the characters comes in through the vent. She's a cat, but then at the same time, when the characters were climbing up this dresser, we weren't able to show that because we had to do it goofily with a jetpack or something, I can't remember, so that we didn't have kids, little toddlers, trying to climb up a dresser drawer and falling over. So yeah, it's interesting. You have more leeway with animals, but it really is great to be careful. Always ask yourself, can a kid mimic this? And that's that's that part. And then we always say, just connecting to the why, make sure you have fun every day. Make sure you laugh. I mean, sometimes Andrew and I will be talking very seriously about the ogity pogity and what's he going to do or whatever. And then we'll just look at each other and laugh our heads off going, can you believe we're doing this? We're
actually having a conversation. Yeah.
Him stealing treasures or something. So the more you can laugh and have fun, if you're with a partner, have fun with your partner. If you're on your own, try to make yourself laugh and have just a great time.
And it's animation. So you can, again, the sky's the limit for the fun you can have. You can shoot someone out of a cannon and, you know, you can have them suddenly break into a spontaneous Broadway number with a dance routine and fireworks. And on that note, we wanted to show you a very quick video of some songs that Carolyn and I have written for different shows. This is under 2 minutes long. It just gives you some, this is us having fun.
This is Andrew and I having fun.
Give me 1 second.
Don't make Andrew and I sing those songs.
Yeah, you don't want to hear that.
We're good?
I'm on my way. Yep, I gotta get there.
Wish I could stay,
But I gotta be somewhere.
Hey Frank, can I come too? Where are you going?
We gotta get there soon.
Where are you going?
I gotta go before the monsoon.
Our teeth are strong and able, they're long and sharp and true. We bring them to the table to chew and chew and chew. Get ready for the meal, remember to be good. Don't eat the chairs and table even though they're made of wood. Hey!
Hey, hey, Discovery Day when Big Sky Park was found. It's more than just a cool place, it's come and hang around. When you get outside you realize adventure never ends. And Big Sky Park is just the place for discovering new friends.
When brand new friendships start,
It's like fireworks lighting up the dark.
It's a party that you feel in your heart.
Discovery Day in Big Sky Park. Hey, hey, I love the way discoveries come along.
Like things we never knew before.
and places we belong. When you get out into nature and see what's waiting there, taking all the day will bring, it's a great big world to share.
Hey, hey, Discovery Day in Big Sky Park. It's the place where brand new friendships start. Discovery Day in Big Sky Park. Discovery Day in Big Sky Park. Discovery Day in Big Sky Park.
We can do those moves.
I liked Mom and Dad really like grooving together.
Well, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. And you definitely ended it with the feature of the fun, like, and the fireworks are a perfect end. So thank you very, very much for your time and expertise. And I'm going to jump into the chat quickly to see if there are any questions. I think there was a little bit more question about what a show is about. I think we got into it. Are there any other questions? While people are adding them in, two things. One is all this information that Andrew and Carolyn have been giving you over the last couple of weeks. Animation Israel will be holding a workshop where you can get one-on-one feedback on your pitch deck. So just email us at info@animationisrael.com if you are interested. And next week, as I mentioned before, there will be our fourth and final lecture of this pitch lecture series. It'll be John Dusenberry talking about pitch design. So, okay, so here are a couple questions. So I'll just read it straight out and you guys can jump in as you choose. Can you talk a little bit about the business side of creating a show? What should a creator expect in business terms. Your creators usually stay on in a production capacity throughout the run of a show, and what terms can a creator negotiate with the buyers. So I think in terms of, I'm going to jump in.
Anne-Marie.
Yeah. In terms of how to negotiate with the buyers in terms of deals, let's table that. And if there's interest in that, Meet and I will set up a session on kind of deal terms, kind of different partners that come in, when they come in, and kind of what are the pieces of the negotiations. Because I want to keep Carolyn and Andrew on the creative side and be respectful of their time. But in terms of maybe Carolyn and Andrew, you can talk a little bit about the creative capacity. Like if you sell your show or option your show, are you expected to be on as part of that? Is that something that sometimes you are, sometimes you're not, something you can negotiate in?
It's
and
definitely
if so,
something-
what part?
Yes, it's definitely something you can negotiate in. You always, I prefer to be involved as much as I can. Just look at the great collaboration we did together, Anne-Marie with Mika and Mo. I mean, I got the creator with me as I was writing it. And you want to stay in with keep the vision as close to the original vision as you can. And I think that's what is important about having a creator stay involved as much as possible. I think through the seasons, they they step back just a little bit, but I think it's important to try to stay in as much as you can. And they prefer you to, I think, too, because they wouldn't have taken this on if they, your idea on, if they didn't respect both the idea and the creator.
Yeah, you might find that you don't get final approval over things. That might well be what the studio has final approval. But meaningful consultation, being involved in the discussion, everyone knows, as we said in the last session, this is an extremely collaborative medium, and everybody wants everybody's energy coming to the table. You're going to get a better show as a result.
Yeah. But with that, that's part of why CoPro invited us to do this series, and why Amit and I are so passionate about having strong pitch decks and strong pitches, whether it's your elevator pitch, your tagline, your one sheet, your pitch deck as a whole, because you're selling your idea and you're selling your show and you're selling your concept, but you're selling you. You're selling people need to want to work with you. And it's not just whether or not they think you're cool and fun and tell jokes, right? It is also how you present yourself, how you present your work. That finished product that you're pushing out the door has to reflect your work ethic, your attention to detail, your passion. There's lots of stuff that's kind of underneath the written word that is reflected in the kinds of packets and the kinds of shows that you're pitching, but also the degree of professionalism around them. So that's really where this series came up for, because we've seen lots of wonderful ideas and great pitches out of Israel, and not as many as we'd like in terms of really polished pitches. And that's what we're here to help with, so that Israel as a creative community is putting its best foot forward, and so that each of you individually are as well, because they're buying your idea, but they're buying you, which is great.
That's great. Well, there's a couple of really good questions here. Should we go through them?
Yeah, just go.
What should we be practicing to get stronger in our skills is a great question. I would say write. Just write as much as you can. It's so obvious, but it's very different from acting, where you can't do it as much by yourself. I mean, you can monologues and stuff, but the beauty of writing, even when you're not working professionally on writing, is that you can keep working and write spec scripts. Pick a show you really like and try to write a script for it. Sometimes producers like to see that, and write your own pilots, and just go crazy and keep going. And also read a lot of scripts. Okay, and I have another one. Watch a lot too.
Yeah, watch a lot, exactly. Yeah.
So there's three.
But it's reading. If you can get your hands on scripts, it really is interesting, because there's a skill to reading a script that is, you have to know how to read a script, and therefore you have to, and if you're a writer, of course you have to know how to write it, but
Right.
you will get that through osmosis. So if you can get your hands on scripts and read scripts and see how action is laid out on a page, just a quick, like 2-second example here of one of our scripts here I have beside me. Here's the script. I'll hold it up.
You keep it on you all the time because it means so much to you.
Yeah. So, so the lines are numbered. This is a formatting thing. But what I wanted to show you was there's the dialogue, and there's always an action here telling the storyboard artist and the reader what is going on visually. So if this were a script for a play, you would just see dialogue. You wouldn't
Right.
see all this other stuff. But this is animation. It's very visual, and so you have to have you've got to have the very considered, economical descriptions of what the action is that accompanies that dialogue.
That's a great point, Andrew, because some of the scripts we'll get from younger writers or newer writers will see when you see that dialogue going down the page, it means they just haven't thought out where the camera is and where the action is and tracking the characters. And the director and the animator need to know what you're thinking for every single piece. You have to sort of just imagine a camera and where is it in every moment. And it's really important in
We
animation.
call that calling the shots. And so
Yeah, calling the shots.
your script really should
where it
call
came
the
from.
shots, meaning
Yeah.
that if there's if you need a close-up to be on Stomper in order for the story to successfully reveal what Rob's doing in an interesting way, then you need to put in close-up Stomper. And then that's up to that's then at the director's discretion to decide whether he's going to do that or she's going to do that or not, and have that covered in a close-up. But you've done your bit as far as articulating the way you saw that coming together.
Right. Because there's often reveals where you pull back and you reveal somebody. And if you didn't say that, it wouldn't make sense. The lines wouldn't make sense even. So there you
With
go.
that, there are a lot of animators and design people on the call who aren't writers, and I really encourage you to either learn to write to support your art, or partner with a writer. And same with the writers on the call, either beg, borrow, buy, or steal some art, or partner with a designer. But you really need the 1-2 punch of having visuals that support your vision and having words that support your visuals. So
Nice.
that's
Yeah.
a full package. Okay. So what skills should you practice and get stronger? That's kind of what we were just talking about. Despite show structure, do you ever feel you've had enough of a show and can't be bothered with it anymore? What do you do if that happens?
That's actually a good question. I mean, it's maybe not, it's not that we ever feel like we can't be bothered with it anymore, but it's a good question if you're on a show for 7 seasons, very many episodes, and how do you keep it interesting? And that's just like anything in life. You have to find different ways, different angles to keep it going and interesting for you.
And be honest with yourself, because when you accept the gig to then be on that show for a long time, you better deliver, So if it's not lighting your rocket anymore, be honest with yourself about that. Or, and I come back to collaboration, bring in a partner, bring in somebody new to bring some extra life to it.
Yeah.
That's a great tried and true, because it always gets exciting with another voice in the room.
Absolutely. And on that, creatively bring in another character too, like rough it up a bit, try to figure out what will make it more challenging. And that's what I think you see in some of these long term series, is it changes every season. It has a different flair to it. And I think that's just to keep the viewers into it, and also to keep it challenging and interesting and exciting for the writers. So that was a very good question, because it is something that people deal with, have to be creative, because everything comes down to creativity. And as you said, Andrew, collaboration, because it's always more fun.
For sure. So the last question we have here, just as a final question, is just, can Animation Israel facilitate a platform for the participants like your series to connect and partner up, particularly between writers and animators? Fantastic question. we would love to we'll regroup with CoPro and kind of discuss kind of the best ways to go about that. But yes, to be able to partner within this community is great. So again, big
We would
thank
love
you.
to see you. We would love to see you succeed. We really would.
Yay. Thank you so much.
And we're here
Carolyn
to,
and
if you ever need any advice, we're here.
right. Carolyn and Andrew, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for putting in your time and energy and expertise and passion and really just love for this industry, love for each other. And I'm honored to be part of your circle. So
Well,
thank you very much.
So much fun. Thank you. Thank you. It's been a joy.
Thank you. It's been a real honor to be here with you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Until next time,
you.
we'll see you guys all next
luck, everyone.
Wednesday. Thank
Okay.
you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.